Okay, so I want to talk about the time, which was actually last year when I almost died. So I was pregnant with my second daughter, who's now 1.5, and I got diagnosed with gestational diabetes at 8 weeks, and I had to inject insulin into my stomach 4 times a day for the whole pregnancy. That sucked. And I had to be on a special diet, so I couldn't even eat all the fun stuff that everybody wants to eat when they're pregnant. So that sucked too. So there was that thing. Then, as I got closer, they noticed that my blood pressure started getting higher and higher with each visit. And I noticed I started getting like really bad headaches and migraines. You can hear them screaming in the background. So I was developing preeclampsia. So at around 38 weeks, I went in for my appointment. My blood pressure was like through the roof, and they told me, nope, you're not going to go home. You are going to go deliver this baby right now. Otherwise, you are going to have a stroke. So I went right over to the hospital with my husband. And they induced me. And let me tell you, if you've ever been induced, you know the pain of contractions from being induced are about 10 times worse than the contractions of just normal pregnancy. So it was painful. Not to mention, they had to really speed up the process. So I had to get, I think they were called Foley's, where they stick these little balls of water, or whatever it is, saline, inside your uterus, and one on the outside or something like that, and it's they fill it with water, with the fluid, and it helps to dilate you faster, and that does not feel comfortable. Then I had to get something called magnesium sulfate because my blood pressure was just shooting up there. My migraine was getting worse and worse, and the doctor told me without the magnesium sulfate I would have for sure had a stroke. It was pretty bad, and that medication is the worst. It makes you feel hot, you feel sick. It's disgusting. If you've ever had it, then you understand. I hated it, but it's needed. So finally, I'm like dilating, and everything's going, normal, and I'm fine. Finally, the contractions do suck. That I will vouch. It hurts. Finally, they got the doctor to come in, and I got my epidural, and that was great. Everything was going smoothly. Then about 3:30 in the morning, I noticed, I was like, wow, I can feel these contractions again. My epidural was wearing off. Within like 30 minutes, my epidural was completely worn off. They even had the anesthesiologist come back in and give me a full brand new one, and it didn't take. I have no idea what happened. It didn't work. It didn't take. So pretty much I had to go at it normal, feeling everything, and that sucked. It hurt. Then all of a sudden the baby's heart rate dropped. It went from like 150 beats a minute down to 40, and all these alarms went off. All these doctors came in. It was like freaking me out. I was like, oh my god, what's going on? They were having me roll to each side, sit up, do this, do that. Nothing was working. So they said, okay, you need to have a C-section. All of a sudden, these alarms in the hospital were going off. They were calling it code C, which is that somebody needs an emergency C-section. And they were rushing me into the operating room, and they were getting my husband all dressed up in his, the scrubs and everything. And so, as they're wheeling me, all of a sudden I hear a nurse gasp, oh my god! And I'm like, what's going on? The baby had prolapsed her cord. So what that means is her cord came out, she didn't, and her head was now pressed down onto the cord, and it was cutting off her oxygen supply. And when that happens, from what I was told, they have about 12 seconds to get the baby out, or to at least raise the baby up in order to continue getting blood flow and oxygen through the umbilical cord. So the whole way over to the operating room, I had a nurse's hand inside me holding the baby up. And that was another, ooh, okay. So anyways, so we get into the operating room, the baby's heart rate finally increases, and they were able to get the cord kind of back in there. And so they're like, oh, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and let you try and push the baby out. And I'm thinking to myself, you want me to push the baby out? And I don't have an epidural. I never wanted to do it natural. Give me the drugs, give me something. But so they had me try pushing, and again, the cord came out and the baby didn't. And so they had to push the baby back up, and next thing I knew, they were taking my husband and they were telling him he had to leave. They walked him out to the waiting room. And I guess, I don't know what they said to him. I think they just told him that they were going to get the baby out and he couldn't be there. And next thing I know, the anesthesiologist is telling me he's going to put me under because the baby was in distress and was losing their oxygen supply. And next thing I know, I was under. And I didn't know anything until I woke up hours later. My husband told me that when he was sitting out in the waiting room waiting, that they sent a chaplain out to him. And pretty much to let him know that me and the baby weren't doing very good, I guess. And so the chaplain was out there in case he was religious and needed to pray or, you know, do anything. And we're not religious people, but, you know, he accepted whatever the chaplain wanted to do or tell him. And so the whole time he's thinking, oh my God, am I losing my wife? Am I losing my baby? Am I losing both of them? And of course I don't know what's going on because I was knocked out asleep. So next thing I know, I wake up in the recovery room and I didn't know what was happening. I thought I had lost the baby. I was crying because of the anesthesia, because every time I have surgery, I've had surgery a few times, I wake up and I'm like bawling. So I wake up and my husband's there and he tells me that I had a baby girl. And the first thing I said is, "She okay?" And he said she was okay. He told me they did an emergency C-section on me, because I couldn't really remember much of what had happened. And finally they brought my baby into me, and she was amazingly beautiful, and she's 1.5 now, and she's doing wonderful. They were able to get her out in time, and there was no brain damage due to oxygen loss or anything like that. But let me tell you, my C-section scar, okay, I have friends who have C-section scars and they're like the cutest little tiny scar, you know. My thing is huge and it's jagged because they don't have the time to make it look pretty. They just cut you open and rip that baby out because, you know, they only have a certain amount of time that they had to get her out. So yeah, so my stomach's a little messed up looking, but hey, I have a beautiful baby and that is all that matters. So everything turned out great. We were in the hospital for a little over a week, and I had to get blood transfusions afterwards. I got 2 of them because they said I did lose an extreme amount of blood. I think I only lost a little over 1 liter, but I guess that's still kind of bad. I think I lost almost 2 liters, I want to say. So they gave me 2 blood transfusions, and then I had to be on blood pressure medication for about 6 months after I gave birth because my blood pressure just stayed high for a long time. It just recently seems like it's leveling out. So other than that, I'm doing okay. I still have like pain and stuff around the scar and everything, but you know, it's all worth it because she's amazing. But because of this incident, I did talk to my doctor, and because my body doesn't seem to be handling pregnancy very well anymore, and they're not sure if I would even be able to survive another pregnancy just because my preeclampsia was really bad. It was really bad, that they told me that it would be in my best option, or my best opinion to, or their best opinion, excuse me, to have my tubes tied. And we already knew we were done with 2 kids. I did not want to go through that again, and we can't afford to have more than 2 kids anyways, so I went in and had my tubes tied. So no more kids for us. It's kind of sad because I see babies now and I'm like, oh my God, I want another baby, but I ain't going through that again. So I'll just see all my friends' babies and play with them and then be able to hand them back when I'm done. So that's my birth story, and I will at some point later on, I will give you my tubal story because even that's interesting. Anytime I go in for surgery, it does not turn out the way it's supposed to, but that's a whole nother video. So if you guys like my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you guys have any crazy stuff that happened during your pregnancies or delivery and you want me to know, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from everyone. And I hope you guys are having a great day. Bye.